Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to break down the absolutely staggering scale of human displacement that's been happening in the Middle East since October 2023. And crucially, we're going to connect it to the decades of history that really set the stage for this crisis. Okay, let's just dive right in. To even begin to understand this, we have to start with the sheer human impact of the recent conflicts. And honestly, the numbers here are almost hard to wrap your head around. So a recent, really detailed report from the Costs of War Project found that since October 7th, 2023, at least 5.27 million people have been forced from their homes. That's across Gaza, Iran, Israel, Lebanon, and the West Bank. And that's considered a conservative estimate. To put that number into perspective, just try to imagine the entire population of the Republic of Ireland, every single person, having to leave their home. Or, if you're in the US, think of everyone in the state of South Carolina. It's just a massive, massive upheaval of human life. Now, this map really helps us visualize where the crisis is hitting hardest. You can immediately see the huge scale of displacement concentrated in specific areas. We're talking over 2 million people in Palestine, another 2 million in Iran, and nearly 1 million in Lebanon. This really maps out the epicenters of this humanitarian emergency. And, buried inside that massive total is another figure that's just devastating. Out of all those millions who've been displaced, an estimated 1.85 million of them are children. That means nearly 1 out of every 3 people forced to run for their lives is under the age of 18. Their lives have been completely turned upside down. But here's the thing. That total number of people, it's only one part of the story. The data shows something deeper, a really painful cycle of trauma. It's not just about if you've been displaced, it's about how many times. So to really get this, we have to understand a key idea the report uses, the displacement event. Now, this doesn't count people. It counts every single time a person is forced to pack up whatever they can and move because of the conflict. The same person can go through this again and again and again. And when you shift from counting people to counting these individual traumatic events, well, the number more than doubles. The report estimates a mind-boggling 10.88 million displacement events have happened across the region. That number just captures the relentless, terrifying instability that people are living with. And this chart right here, it puts the crisis into a global context. In 2024, the displacement events in Palestine and Lebanon were some of the highest in the entire world. They're right up there with major conflicts in places like Sudan and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. It just hammers home the severity of what's happening. Now, while this crisis is regional, the report we're looking at zooms in on one area where the nature of displacement is, it's fundamentally different and uniquely dire, and that's the Gaza Strip. And right here, the Cost of War report we're referencing makes a really critical and very serious point. It argues that in Gaza, displacement isn't just a tragic side effect of war. It says that it frequently appears to be a systematic goal of the military operations themselves. And that argument leads to this stark conclusion from the report, which is citing numerous legal and human rights experts. They've concluded this pattern appears to constitute what's known under international law as forcible transfer. Now, to be crystal clear, that is one of the gravest accusations you can make in international law. It's a potential war crime and a crime against humanity, defined by the intentional, unlawful removal of civilians from their homes. I mean, just look at these numbers. They're astonishing. Over 90% of Gaza's entire population of about 2.2 million people have been forced from their homes. And on average, each one of those displaced people has had to move 3 to 4 times, trapped in a constant cycle of flight with really nowhere safe to go. So you have to ask yourself, right? A crisis of this magnitude doesn't just appear out of thin air. To really get a grip on the instability that's fueling all this displacement, we have to look back at the decades of policy that shaped the modern Middle East. So, how did we get to this point? Well, a really key piece of the puzzle, according to historical analysis, lies in the role the United States has played in the region ever since the end of World War II. As this timeline shows pretty clearly, U.S. policy in the region has been defined by decades of really deep transformative involvement. You've got everything from covert actions and high-stakes diplomacy all the way to 2 massive military invasions. These interventions have, again and again, fundamentally changed the region's balance of power. And each of those decisions, often intended to secure interests or create stability, came with unintended consequences. They created new alliances, new grievances, and new conflicts that are still echoing today. And this quote gives you a little window into the thinking behind these actions. Policymakers often operated on the belief that decisive intervention was absolutely necessary to deal with threats, and that it could even spark a wave of democratic change across the Middle East. Okay, so we have this long, incredibly complex history of intervention and conflicts, and we have millions of displaced people on the map today. So how do we connect those dots? All right, let's try and boil this all down. What are the crucial things to take away from this? First, the scale of what's happening right now, it's just unprecedented. Second, this isn't a one-time thing. It's a devastating cycle of trauma. And third, this current crisis is deeply, deeply rooted in decades of regional conflict and foreign policy that created this profound and lasting instability. So we'll just leave you with this final question to think about. When you see millions of people displaced today, and you understand the long, complicated history that got us here, what does a stable, peaceful future for the people of the Middle East even begin to look like? It seems like understanding both of those things, the human cost and the history, is the essential first step.